Okay, great. So as I mentioned, this is the homepage for your agency account. If you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see all your sub-accounts. So as you have new clients that you're doing Boingnet campaigns for, you can add new clients, and they will have their own dashboard isolated in their own sub-account. Okay? So to add a new sub-account, you just click on Add New Client, enter a username, a password, confirm a password for that sub-account, and then enter the profile information and click Save at the bottom, and that will create a brand new sub-account.
All right, now, so from the agency account, we can't do anything. So even if we want to do some internal marketing, like this Kessler PURLs Digital, I created that yesterday.
Yeah, so you would be able to do internal marketing from this sub-account that you have created.
Now, the only other thing I noticed is that when you import a list, it all goes into I guess, under the one agency account. But is there a way to because those are two separate lists?
No, when you are going to upload a list for a specific sub-account, you should click this Manage button. That will put you into your own dashboard for that sub-account, and everything is separate in terms of lists, assets, campaigns, and reports for that sub-account. See, we're in this sub-account now.
Okay. So that list I gave you yesterday, it went here as well? Okay, there it is. Okay.
Yes. Yep. So I put it into this Pearl Digital sub-account.
Okay.
And if you look at the domains for this, your Try Direct Mail domain is associated with this sub-account.
Perfect.
Okay. So when you get into each sub-account, you'll see the main navigation bar up here. Build is where we sort of upload assets to use on your templates, generate your templates, create microsites and web forms. It's where you upload your lists. It's also where you're going to execute your campaigns and look at your reports for this sub-account. Okay. All right, so let's, when I think of building campaigns, the first thing once I get the domain registered and it's all configured, the next thing I think about doing is uploading the list. So since we've already registered your domain, do you have any questions about that process?
No, that was pretty straightforward. I didn't get any kind of notification because you asked as kind of a follow-up to make sure that you knew it was going to be loaded before our session today. But usually, what's the turnaround time for it to load into the sub account?
The domain registration, if it's done through us, is done pretty quickly. Typically, just takes a few hours to get the domain pointed and all the email DNS configured.
Okay.
Just go back to that page for a second. Right. So when you register the domain through us, all those records, and I'll pull them up, get configured automatically for you.
Okay.
See those here. You do have the ability to add a domain that's registered someplace else by clicking on external domains and entering it here and then adding that to your account. If you do that, you then have to configure those email DNS and point those DNS records to our IP address through wherever that external domain is registered. So if it's registered on GoDaddy or Network Solutions, you've got to go there and make those changes. So you didn't need to worry of that because you registered through us and everything was done automatically.
Yeah, and the way we set up the program, it's easier for us to use this trydirectmail.com and then do subs off of that. So for each subdomain that we create, or sub-account, let's put it that way, for each sub-account, automatically the Try Direct Mail will be a select, or for each sub-account we have to create or we have to register a different one?
So typically, because people use their agency accounts for separate clients, we recommend that you register a vanity domain for each sub-account.
Okay.
Or add an external domain.
Okay.
Typically, people, different clients want their own vanity domains to use for their PURL.
Okay.
Okay. So now that we've talked about domains, let's talk about lists. So I actually pulled in your list and uploaded it for you, and I'll show you how I did that in a minute. But I just wanted to go into this action button over here and show you the different categories underneath that. Once you've uploaded a list, you can go in and edit it if you'd like. You can actually look at the records. You can click on a specific record and edit it if you'd like to make changes to something. Just remember to click Save when you do that. If you're going to be using the list for an email campaign, you need to run one of our clean processes prior to setting up the campaign. Our clean processes actually perform email validation on the emails in your list. So for every email,
so that 3213, you can actually, for the exercise, that's going to be more for our email marketing.
Okay. Okay. So there are two types of clean processes. One is our basic clean, which checks for syntax and misspellings and things like that. Those we recommend only used to be only used on lists that have been 100% double opted into. So you've had a process that you've gone through and you've verified every email on the address, and they've double opted into receiving emails from you. In that case, you just are able to use the basic clean list. If it's a purchased list or a rented or a third-party list of any time, we recommend using our Max Protect List Clean, which is powered by Bright Verify. You need to purchase Max Protect credits before you run that clean, because the clean is actually done outside of Boingnet. What Bright Verify does is it actually validates every single email on the list. So it goes out and it looks at the domain and then at the email address to make sure it exists. If it doesn't, it returns an invalid status that gets marked on the list, and those invalid emails are omitted from any email send because they don't exist or they're not able to accept emails from us. Then we don't want to send emails to them.
Awesome.
Okay, so if this list, was this an in-house list or did you purchase this?
No, it's an in-house list.
Okay.
This comes from our former email platform Active Campaign. So these are all the active openers, clickers for the last 2 years. Okay.
So then you'd be able to run our basic clean on it, which there's no extra, you don't have to buy extra credits to do that.
Okay.
And that'll take a few minutes depending upon how many records are in the list. All right, so let's talk about uploading a new contact list. So let me pull up an example here. So I took a subset of the list that you had sent me yesterday just so that we can look at the layout and talk about how to get a list prepared for upload, okay? So to upload a list, we either use CSV or Excel files, and every column in the list needs to have a unique column header at the beginning. So for example, if you had email on your data file, say you had 2 or 3 email addresses that you wanted to upload, you'd want to make sure that the columns had unique headings, so email 1, email 2, email 3, so that when the process goes to actually map that information to the contact list, it knows where to put every column from your data list into every field on the contact list. We currently require first name and last name go on all lists. So if it looks like you're going to be using company name to generate PURLs. So I needed to add a column for first name and a column for last name that I just filled with dummy information in order to get the mapping process to work.
Okay. So that was part of my email then. That's the fix.
Correct. That was the fix to get the list to upload. And then let's talk about PURL structure for a minute, because you have to know what you want to use in your PURLs when you're putting your data list together. So
yep.
Typically our PURLs, sort of the typical format is first name, last name on the domain, which is why we require the first name and the last name columns. You can use any 2 columns on your list to generate PURLs. So if you wanted to use company, that could be your first identifier, and if really that's all you want to see in the PURL URL, we can then just include a blank column here that you use as the second identifier. So okay. For this first company, Dig M Installers, the PURL would be this company name and then nothing, at domain.com, at trydirectmail.com.
Right.
So that's why I have included this column here as well.
Okay.
So that you can use company name as your first identifier and have it just pull this in from your list.
All right. And then I'm assuming it's going to remove all spaces.
Yes. There won't be any spaces in the actual URL. This will all get condensed.
And then what about special characters like the ampersand, dashes?
That's a good question. I think the dash will be fine and the ampersand will be fine. You know if there's any other types of special characters on your list?
Well, I'm hoping that's about it. And maybe a couple of commas in there, maybe.
Okay.
I don't think you can use an ampersand.
Yeah, okay. I think the dashes and the ampersands will be fine. And then as far as any other data that you're going to be using in your campaign, you're starting out with direct mail, so obviously you want your address there. If you were going to be using this list for an email campaign, obviously you'd want email address. And then anything that you're going to use as sort of customized data to display anywhere on your templates, for example, industry or something of that nature, you would also need to include on your list. So once you have your list set up with your columns, the way you upload it is to go back to this navigation bar, click on Lists, and then Create New Contact List. Okay. Oh, this is a CSV file. Let's, under list name, obviously give it a name. We'll call this training list. Select it. Get that little check mark once it's uploaded, and then you click Next to go to the mapping page. Okay. The system needs to figure out where to put every single column of data from your data file. So the mapping process is where you define how you want the system to do that. So typically, it will try to figure out where you want things to go. First name, obviously, is going to put into first name. Company, it will automatically put into company. Address, city, state. Sometimes it gets to a field on or a column and it doesn't quite know where to put it, so it leaves it blank. You can choose to skip that, or you can map it yourself by clicking this arrow button. And let's see, I want to map this the same way I mapped your actual list. So let me just pull that up. So
I noticed that it allows you to do variable fields, but it won't allow you to label them. Is that pretty much what's allowed?
Correct.
Okay.
On the contact list, you'll see the label that came in on the data file. So if I mapped this to variable field 1, then that's going to be named that on the list when it gets uploaded.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see.
So besides adding the dummy data for the first and last name, did you find is it easier to go ahead and clean up the columns that you don't need prior to loading the list? Because
yes,
a lot of the fields that you asked me about, I was basically using skip.
correct. Right.
Okay.
If I hadn't deleted those from this example, those would be here on the mapping page, and you'd probably you could skip them at that point, but it would be a lot for you to go through and check.
Right.
If you're certain that you're not going to be using them, sometimes it's a good idea just to delete them from the data file.
All right. Now, when we do an export, we're going to be able to pull everything that we have mapped out let's say in a performance report. If we do an export, it's going to pull everything, correct?
If you export the list, all the data on the list will be downloaded.
Okay.
So once you have everything mapped the way you'd like it, you just click Complete Import. Okay, and again, depending upon the file size, it might take a few minutes for that list to be imported. And then you can go look at it. Here it is. Okay, and you can, of course, search on certain values within email, first name, and last name just by using that and clicking this search button. You can download it from here, or under this action button, you can download it. And then when you're sure you're done with it and you don't have any campaigns running against it, you can delete it. Just keep in mind that if you delete a list that was used in a campaign, you'll lose the reporting data associated with that list.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions about lists or anything we've covered?
No, I think that's good with lists, except for when we're going to export it for the pre-press side, which I'm sure you're going to show us next.
Yeah, so you're doing PURLs for direct mail. You'll actually, once you set up your campaign and the PURLs are generated, I'll show you on the PURL dashboard where the button is to download the information, and it will pull all the contact information from your list and the PURL associated with each record on your list.
Okay.
Okay. So before we go to build templates, let's just take a look at the Asset Manager for a minute, because the Asset Manager is where you're going to upload the images and the logos and et cetera, the things that you're going to be using on your template. So let me just walk through how to go through that. That's pretty self-explanatory, but I already put a couple of images in here so that we had things to use to build some templates for you. To add a new image or asset, I'm just going to click on the Upload button, click Add File. That's stuff on my desktop that we can pull in. Select the image I want to upload, click Open, and then upload. It will put it into my Asset Manager, and from there I can use that in any of the templates or the creative that I build for campaigns in this sub-account. So let's talk about building templates. So you're going to be generating some PURLs for direct mail. You're going to want to create a landing page template that's used when so when people click on their PURL, there's creative that is there. So in order to create a new template, you just click on this button, and then you have the option of creating, of actually using one of our pre-built templates or building your own, like selecting your own layout. Okay.
Okay.
All the templates that that are generated are responsive templates, which means that they resize depending upon the device that they're being viewed on. So you can take a look at a preview of what your template's going to look like on a tablet or a mobile and see how things are going to display. For the pre-built templates, too, you can also change color schemes. Take a look at, we have a whole host of templates, landing page templates, and we actually have email templates that coordinate with each of these landing page templates that are nice to use too. Once you sort of have the layout and the color defined the way you'd like, you just click Start Editing to go into the editor. Okay, and the first thing I like to do before I forget is enter a name for the template. Otherwise, it'll just get saved with that date and time stamp. Okay. So the template editor has this toolbar that's pretty standard at the top, where you can, if you click on and highlight an area in your template, you can then use the template, the toolbar to bold and underline and italicize text, to change the size of text, to change color. You can use it to insert links and images, etc. There's also, on the left-hand side of the template editor, is where you can go to define styles for your page, and we'll talk about that in a minute, like background color. Add new page blocks if you want to add a new, we call this block, template block is referred to over here as a page block. It's also where you'll go to insert data from your list, the list you've uploaded, put together variable logic in the form of if statements, and insert forms and create link buttons. Okay, so let's start with doing something simple like changing the image that's on this pre-built template. So I've already uploaded some images into my asset manager. If I want to change the image that's displayed in this block, I just click on the block to get my cursor inserted there, and then click on the container settings icon on the toolbar. Go to my asset manager, select an image that I uploaded. Okay, it's my new image. I can highlight text I want to update. Change the size. Color.
Hey, Liz, I have a question.
Sure.
On the when you're selecting a layout from the pre-built library, when you go to the color scheme option, is that the extent of the color schemes, or could you get in and change the color of that Save Now button and the headlines, or is it pretty is it pretty married to those color schemes that Boingnet provides?
You can change any of the colors in here.
Okay.
So yes, you can go ahead and change the link button colors, the heading colors, the background colors. You can also, there's also going to be additional color schemes and color choices in the future available for all those pre-built templates that we'll be adding.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay. So let's talk for a second about sort of variable logic and variable data, and then I'll show you how to change the color on the buttons and on the background of the page blocks. Okay. So I deleted the variable data insert that was here on the template because I want to show you how to add your own. If you put your cursor where you want that data to display and then select variable data inserts and add anything you'd like from the contact list that's going to be used with this template. So now this is going to display the first name and the last name from the contact list that I'm going to use on this campaign. Okay. You can also, as we talked about, do variable, insert variable logic using any of the information on your list. And to do that, you click on this variable logic option. So let's say for a certain city on your list, for Baltimore, I want to display some sort of text or an image or something other than what people in different cities are going to get. So if city equals Baltimore, then say visit our new location in Baltimore. I like this color. So now for people who are in Baltimore, this text right here is going to display, okay? But for people who aren't in Baltimore, they're not going to see that. All right. So that's how you set up if statements that you can use. You can personalize your templates based on all the information that's in your list. Any questions about that?
On the variable logic where you just put that about visit our new location in Baltimore,
Yep.
for those people and companies not in Baltimore, does that line break remain the same, or will that save with us today fall back up a couple lines, if that makes any sense? Or will there still be that space between bank in town and save with us today?
No, I don't believe so. No.
Okay.
All right, so let's talk about, we can update any of these link buttons that appear in the pre-built templates just by clicking on them, and you'll get this window that pops up, and you can just edit everything from the text that appears on the button to the color. You can select on the color picker. Change the text color if you want. I'm going to leave it white. And then just update the button. Okay, so you can change the color of the buttons on the pre-built templates easily. In terms of changing the background color on a block, you just you hover over the icon here in the upper right corner, click on it, and then select a color. It's also how you can delete the actual block if you want, or move it by clicking on this. Okay. While we're talking about blocks, let's talk about how to, say I wanted to insert an additional block someplace on this template. I would click on Page Blocks, select a background color, select a layout, and click on it. It automatically gets added to the end of the template. If I want to move it, I just click on that arrow and drag it. I think I dropped it. So, I don't know why that's not moving for me right now. Just stuck. But anyway, so click and drag on that arrow, and you'll be able to move it to where you'd like it to go. And if you delete a block that's extra, okay. So, talked about variable logic and variable data inserts, and updating images and changing colors and blocks. Link buttons. So, any questions about what we've covered so far?
Were you going to cover the email autoresponder?
Sure, we can talk about the thank you page redirect and also the email autoresponder. So typically when there's a form on a landing page and it gets completed, it's always best practice to navigate the user to a thank you page that thanks them for entering the information. And to do that, I just place your cursor on the form somewhere and then click thank you page redirect. And then enter the URL ending and click insert. And if you save it, you'll notice it'll insert a little hidden fields form or a hidden fields box right here that gives you the value. We can talk about this when we go to creating the microsites and you're identifying the URLs for the campaign. You're going to want to make sure that you the URL or the name for the page exactly matches what you have on the thank you page redirect box, because that's how it's going to navigate the user to the correct URL. Okay. And then you can also send an automatic email responder back to somebody who's completed the form by clicking on this, entering either the address. Let's see, if you didn't have it on your list, you would most likely want to use form format, which is like that. So it pulls in the information entered here. From address, say it is check at try. The subject, thank you. And then the template for the email that you'd like to send. You click insert and save, you'll see 4 hidden fields that just basically allow you to have access to those, that information that I just entered. So the template, or the ID for the template, the email that the thank you is going to go to. From address, and the subject. So now when somebody completes the form, they'll get a thank you page and also a thank you email using that template I specified and the email subject I specified. Okay, any other questions about setting up page templates?
Nope. I I know you covered a lot, and I noticed the logic on a lot of the pages is there's some kind of knowledge-based video to the left. To the right. Is that the same thing there under help?
Yes, correct. So this help tab is accessible from all the different pages in the application, and it typically displays articles that are pertinent to the page that you're on in the application. You can also search through the entire knowledge base just by clicking on that search feature.
Okay. And just so we can kind of get in sync with you guys, I see that the chat window just popped up. Is it East Coast pretty much standard business hours that you guys are going to be supporting? Any kind of little quick questions that we don't see in the knowledge base?
Yes, correct. Yep. Okay. So you can, give us a call or shoot me an email, or you can use the chat feature on the website too.
Did you just give us access to email you?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
All right. Well, just so we kind of can kind of see how we measure up for a client coming on board. Where do you see them having the most probably trouble, needing more help? In what area?
It really depends on the type of campaign they're trying to create and sort of their experience with marketing automation systems like this. So okay. we have clients that don't have any experience at all with a marketing automation platform like this that need more help. It sounds like you guys have some exposure to other systems and are comfortable with the editor, and so it doesn't sound like you guys are going to really have too much of a learning curve. Once you get your first campaign set up and you're comfortable with the application, I don't think you'll have too many questions. But we're always here to help if you do. And there are a lot of articles and videos in that knowledge base that are very useful too, that we're constantly updating and working.
All right. I know from my perspective, really, integrating the workflow of the PURL into our system,
yes,
is going to be. It's proven to be a little bit of a challenge because we, besides the internal workings of list approval and purchase, once we have the list, uploading the list is one thing. Now I got to run it back to the list team. So I'm trying to see how can I streamline that process. So again, the list that we loaded that you helped me with yesterday.
Yes.
How do we export out two things? One, the PURL, the URLs, and then the QR code.
Okay. So
I know that's where I don't know if we're going to get there. I know you're going to open it up at one point, but I want to make sure we cover that thoroughly because for us those two parts it involves the production. Digital, from our company perspective, always been trying to be independent of the machine side, but because of that list, we have to integrate into their production schedule and pull in, do some test printing and proofing, and I just want to make sure that, I can kind of give them a time frame of how long before I acquire a list, that I can get a test, that we can get it printed, and we can get it out the door.
Okay. All right, so once you've created your PURL campaign, on the dashboard you'll see a button for downloading the actual PURLs.
Okay.
So that's a CSV file with your contact information and the PURL in it. And then there's also a button there to generate QR codes. So once you set up your PURL campaign, that's a very straightforward process.
Okay.
Okay. So let me just show you a couple things about working with templates. You can always copy a template and reuse it. So I'm going to copy this one because I want to show you how to do a thank you page, because we talked about the thank you page redirect. Okay. Let's see. Now I have a thank you page template. Okay. So once you have your templates developed for your PURLs, you need to create what we call in Boingnet a microsite. A microsite will tie all the templates that you want to use for your campaign together so that you can use it in your PURL campaign. And it only takes a minute to set up, but the one thing you've got to remember is getting that thank you page URL to match what you identified on your template. So, obviously you give your microsite a name, and then you need to add all the templates to the microsite that you've developed for that campaign. So the first, I'm going to enter that primary template we had, select the template from here, called it training template, then click save. Every time you add a template, you've got to save it, and then to add another template, you click add new page. So here's the friendly URL. I want to make sure that matches the value in the hidden fields box that we inserted into the template. And it does. It's like this with no space in it. Once you've added and saved all your templates, you've got to save your microsite. Okay? So save each template and then save the microsite. So here's my training microsite that we just created. Now that I have a list uploaded, my templates created, and a microsite created, I can go generate my PURL campaign. Okay, to do that, you go to Campaigns and select Personalized Campaigns, and then create a new campaign. Okay. Give your campaign a name that will only be visible to you in your account, but it will be what your reports are listed under. And select the training list that we use, that we uploaded, and click Generate URLs. So you have the option of using our Boingnet subdomain or the domain that's registered to your this sub-account. I'm going to do that. And then under URL format, that's where you specify the first and second identifier of your PURLs. So typically it's first name, last name for a lot of people. We're going to use company and then that blank field. So it just is company at your domain for the PURL. Your domain, I've got to select which domain for my account, and I'm going to select this trydirectmail.com. You'll notice that it gives you a preview of what the PURLs are going to look like under this. Once you're sure that you like the way that looks, select the microsite. Next. Confirm all the details on this page, and then create landing pages. So under URL, so on the PURL dashboard underneath URLs, it's going to give you an example of the first record on the list. There's a landing page we set up. So underneath this campaign chart that shows sort of the most recent metrics on the campaign, download button is what you click to get the PURL file. Okay. And then the generate QR code button is what you click to generate QR codes for this campaign. Okay, and it will create a.
And what output file format is the generate QR code is going to be in?
That is going to be in a zip file, and I believe it's it's going to be in a zip file, and it's going to have the contact information and a QR code associated with each record.
Okay.
And this download file will also be a CSV file. It'll have the contact information, and then if you scroll over to the right for each record, you'll see the PURL. So the PURL campaigns automatically are launched in a test status, and when they're in test status or unpublished mode, they have this landing page is not published banner at the top. We do that so that you can test the information, and then when you decide you want to publish it and sort of clear the test statistics, you can publish it and clear that, and then that banner will go away. Under recent visitors, you'll see once the PURL campaign is active, the most recent visitors to the PURLs. And then if you were going to add an email channel to this campaign, you would do so under this broadcast section. Okay.
So what are our options with add email broadcast? Is that some integration with like a Emma, or is that what do you mean by?
That's through so you can deliver your PURLs if you had an email template set up for this PURL campaign, and assuming that we had cleaned the list had been cleaned, we could add an email broadcast to deliver the PURLs via email. You need to make sure that you had email address on your input file.
So I'm thinking for a client that's a restaurant and they want to do a PURL and they want to have a QR code populate on each email template that's unique. So like a bring in and scan, they could technically scan the QR code from the email if we wanted them to. So the wait staff would basically have a smartphone. The client would show the email that they had, and then it could mark a redemption that they visited, they redeemed. So basically, for a campaign for this style, and trust me, we've been trying to rack our heads on how we could do this. So it may not be complete thought, but basically, if the client came in and I got an email from you guys, here it is. The wait staff scans it with a QR code reader. Embedded in the QR code is the unique information, and it populates in the report that Brad came in and we scanned his QR code, because we would have the tracking on the back end. Does that make sense?
Right. It makes sense. I just I would have to look at whether or not that QR code can be embedded in an email.
Okay.
But I will get back to you on that. That's a great question. That's a great
parallel. So let me just give you a little. With us, with our direct mail, we're able to take the postal record, encrypt some of the data information, maybe a unique identifier that's tied back to a record in our database. But basically, within that postcard for each one is a unique linear barcode. We mail those out, and then people bring those into the restaurant, and then the restaurant sends us back those redeemed coupons. We scan them in the system, and we generate a report on who actually redeemed.
Okay.
So they wanted to take that same type of logic into the email world. And the biggest problem is being, how do you personalize that QR code or that barcode that's scannable?
Right.
And the only one that I've seen do it, but they couldn't confirm that it was unique to me and not to the campaign, was Payway. Over the weekend, they sent me an email, and it had a barcode on it, and I showed her the email, and she said, "Oh, let me scan it." And she scanned it in the POS system. But I said, "Is that unique to me? Is it going to show that I redeemed, or just someone redeemed from the email? And she said she didn't know.
Wow.
It's kind of a weird question. She was looking at me like, what? People can do that?
Right.
Like, it looks like they have, but it's pretty cool. It lets you know how effective your campaign is at the store level.
Right. So typically what we do when we add an email broadcast to a PURL campaign is that PURL link is in the email. And you click on the PURL link and you go to the landing page you created for that campaign, which would be that. So that's what this section does here under broadcast, would deliver the PURL link via an email. I'll have to see if we can, how that works with, typically QR codes are downloaded in a file and then printed on a piece of direct mail. We haven't had anybody yet embed them into an email template, I don't think.
Okay, I'm patenting that. Strike this conversation.
It's a great idea, so.
All right. And the configuration for the PURL, is there a limit on characters? Because as I look through my list, some of those names are pretty long.
If there's a limit, it's pretty large. So, I don't think that the limitation would be on a piece of print, right? So.
Yeah, we would have to adjust to the longest iteration and then
right.
move down from.
I'm pretty sure we could generate the PURL no matter how long it is. The issue would be how you're going to print it on, if you have space to print it on a piece of direct mail. Do you have an idea of what of your longer sort of, we could figure it out, what one of the longer company names is on your list, and then take a look at it just to make sure that it won't be an issue. I don't think it'll be an issue on our end. It would be the printing part that would be the issue.
Okay.
I'll look into that. That's another good question. I'll look into that limit for sort of the length of the PURL. And then actually just sort of wrapping up, if you get to the bottom of the PURL dashboard, you can set up notifications that send email alerts to the campaign administrator for the PURL campaign. The options are PURL Open. If you select that, you're going to get a lot of notifications. You can do PURL Complete, which means did they complete the form on the PURL. And then to do that, and then you can also have a daily summary report sent to the email addresses entered here in this box. Okay, but you got to check the boxes in order to enable those campaign alerts. Then when you're done, just click Save Campaign. So that is how to set up, in a nutshell, in a large nutshell, how to set up a PURL campaign and configure notifications, download information, chart, and how to download PURL and QR codes. Happy to have another session with you if you'd like to talk more specifically about email and sort of setting up email channels on a PURL campaign or straight email blasts with no PURLs in them. We can take a look at reports. It would probably be more meaningful to you once you have a campaign generated to see, to walk through what the various, there's a lot of different information, a lot of different tabs for a PURL report, but you can take a quick look at it, but it'll make more sense once we have some data to look at, or I can hop into a different account and pull up some different data, depending on what you have time for. Would you like to take?
Bradley's got a question.
Sure.
Yeah,
go
I
ahead.
got a quick question. Are you able to open that? I'm going back to QR codes. That zip file that you downloaded. Is that something you can open and show to me real quickly? Just because I want to look at the opportunities for our design team as far as implementing those. I just want to be able to tell them what file format they're coming over in. Okay, so they're coming over in.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can. I'm not sure I can access it here. There it is.
Yeah, there it is. Okay, so there should be a way for. You said John Michael's doing this stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna have to work it through the whole from the top down.
Gotcha.
But it'll eventually hit his desk. So, all right.
All right, cool.
I think we got enough to at least get this first campaign going.
Okay.
And if we have any hiccups along the way, we'll shoot you an email for sure.
Sure, excellent. And then I will find out those answers to your questions about the QR code on an email and then the limit of the PURL and get back to you. And I'll also send you the training notes and so that you can see the information that we covered today.
Okay, great.
Okay. Well, nice to meet you and chat with you. By all means, send us an email if you have if you run into any speed bumps on your first campaign.
All right, thank you, Liz.
Thanks.
You're very welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.